My twin brother Thomas and I have always been best friends. We go way back. They say never meet your heroes, but Thomas met me on June 1st, 2005. And both of us had absolutely no choice over our meeting. Our parents, on the other hand, had scored the ultimate buy one, get one free deal. Thomas and I stuck out life together. We put up with moving houses, starting new schools, the COVID-19 pandemic, but worst of all, we had to put up with the torture that was Year 12 VCAL classrooms. Growing up, Thomas and I had some similar and different interests. He loved anything involving football and basketball. I loved outer space. I've always wanted to see an astronaut, which is why I was excited to go to the Katy Perry Lifetimes tour. Thomas and I are best friends, but we are also mortal enemies. The ultimate crushing betrayal came when we were a few years old on a camping trip, and he made the brutal decision to run off with my Thomas the Tank Engine train. This is the exact moment that my bright young mind calculated that living with Thomas was going to be a life sentence. For Thomas, the realization that I was going to be embarrassing to live with came on Year 7 school camp, when they began playing a One Direction song, and I got up in front of 100 boys and did the worm. Now, this would have been a really cool moment had I actually known how to pull it off. Instead, I ended up having a make-out session with the dirty carpet. When this happened, Thomas looked even more confused than when we decided to watch Saltburn together for the first time. It's a wholesome film. Thomas and I have been to plenty of theatre shows during our friendship, and through this I've realised that I'm probably the more perceptive one. An example of this is a couple of months ago. We went to the theatre, we took our seats, and he turned and said to me, "Do you think everyone's going to make it out alive?" And I turned and said to him, "Well, it is called And Then There Were None." We spent a couple of years growing up sleeping in bunk beds, scared that they were going to collapse. And this fear was compounded when we watched the movie Step Brothers. Another favourite movie of mine is Dumb and Dumber, which I will admit was the alternative title for this monologue. Tom and I have also participated in some escape rooms in the past. We're very good at pushing buttons and making jokes, but the critical thinking part we are not. We did one with our dad once, and he came out looking more surprised than when he discovered that, yes, Nirvana songs actually have lyrics. At the end of 2023, Tom launched his very own cooking channel. Admittedly, when I found this out, I thought it would be a bit of a joke, as Thomas had never cooked anything remotely edible in his life. To be honest, I'm not a great cook either. A teacher aide in cooking class would always say to us, "Tom and you will make great entertainers one day. Chefs, you will not." So I was completely surprised when Thomas started his show, but it would soon be the worst thing on the internet and continues to ruin my life to this day. It is haunting my conscience constantly, and is even more soul-crushing than my decision to watch Piranha 3 Piranhageddon. A couple of months ago, I was at the best gym in Bendigo, Healthy Mates, and I was getting ready for my session, when a young teenager from the pool yelled out to me, "Are you Tom Cooks?" Now, normally I'm the one that gets recognised in public, but it was in this heartbreaking moment that I realised I was no longer the Chris Hemsworth in our friendship. Suddenly, I knew what it felt like to be Liam. Or maybe even Luke. Growing up, Thomas and I were complete chatterboxes, and this would drive Mum and Dad insane, especially on long car trips. One day, we were on a road trip, and throughout the entire journey, Tom would not stop kicking my dad's car seat. He was told multiple times not to do it, and eventually, Dad cracked it. He stopped the car, opened Tom's door, and told him to stand next to a light post on the highway. Dad jumped back in and began driving off. Now, I personally agreed with Dad's idea that we should keep driving, but after much protesting from Nan, he stopped the car, collected Thomas, and prevented a future Netflix special from occurring. Growing up, my family had the yearly tradition of going for Santa photos. A family favourite is when Tom and I were 3 years old, and it was our sister Abby's first photo. Just before it was taken, she began crying, and I bolted off just before the camera clicked. Because the idea of a man breaking into my house at night and giving me presents was terrifying. Now somewhere, there is a photo of Thomas all alone with Santa and a terrified crying baby. Eventually I came around to the idea of Santa and loved Christmas. It is a heartbreaking moment for most 7-year-olds when they find out Santa isn't real, but it was even more embarrassing to find this out as a 13-year-old. Now, I'd like to say, before wrapping up, this is my last monologue that I'll do until the next showcase. The one condition I had when writing this monologue was that Tom did not want me to say any offensive or embarrassing jokes. Well, the written part's over. Because you see, earlier I talked about Thomas being embarrassed when I failed to do the worm when listening to a One Direction song. But I'm deeply concerned he might not remember it fully. So I would be more than happy to jog his memory.